All right, like in the 90s, man, you had the main hip hop clubs. You had Latin Quarters, you had Union Square, Palladium, you know what I'm saying? And they were playing hip hop crazy, but then there was a lot of violence associated with that at the time. A lot of shit going on. Kids was getting jumped, Vic for their jacket. That was the word back in the days, right? Vic, you know what I'm saying? Like, there was a lot of violence, and a lot of the club owners were having probably was an insurance thing. Like, they wasn't insuring these clubs. So little by little, we started losing those venues that were doing big hip hop parties, and now they became smaller, socialized things like Funk Hut and all of that stuff, which were great, legendary, but they weren't built to hold X amount of people. Like clubs back in the 90s, it's not like that. You go inside the spot right now, you put 100 people and it's crowded. You know what I'm saying? That's not a club, that's a lounge. You know what I'm saying? But back in the days, we talking about 1,000 people and better. We talking about Sound Factory. We talking about the Grand. We talking about the Village Gate, man. And a lot of these places were scared to play hip hop because of the violence that was associated with it. So this was right around the time of Hot 97 where I was really starting to come into my own. And I was looked at as a safe alternative. And they had Baby Heck, who was very instrumental at putting Eddie B. Swift on the club scene. He was doing a lot of house clubs at that time, and he was working with David Morales up in Red Zone. So we were starting to put together a show. He was putting the Barnyard Boys, and that was the introduction of El General when he had the reggae record, Boom Doom Doom. And then Brand Nubians had just finished dropping the All for One. So they was like, yo, let's include them. Let's sneak them in there, whatever have you. They gave me a little 10-minute hip-hop segue to that. And the crowd went crazy. Like, if you remember the Red Zone was massive, man. And to play on that system, man, even though they had a Yuri, just to play hip-hop over there was crazy. And, that reintroduced that. So now club owners is like, all right, let's get the little Puerto Rican kid, you know what I'm saying? Because he got a different base. Like, it's not necessarily the hoods coming up in here. Like, that's how they looked at it as, call it what it is. And, they made people get dressed up. I was playing hip hop, but, we was getting dressed up to go listen to it. And they were mixing in with house music and so forth. And Eric Brahms, who was actually the son of Maurice Brahms, who owned Studio 54. Not Rubel, like the movie claimed to have. It was actually Maurice Brahms, but that's another story. So I got him with his son, and he was a promoter of these parties. He was like, look, man, let's really get into this. And we started doing spots like the Philly Club and Sound Factory. And, now all of a sudden, it was accepted to play hip-hop. Like, it became a big part of that transition where now Kilimanjaro's, which is like a great club that turned into home base, that turned into the Tunnel, I went in there, started home base. Clubs like Mars and all of that stuff, man. I had the opportunity to play hip-hop there when hip-hop really wasn't, they really didn't want it in the clubs, man. And it was kind of like that renaissance that it got played more and more, man. And then, the DJs uptown started making their way downtown, man. I was like the downtown DJ, and it just got crazy after that and kind of like took off, man, and became what it was. And then, the whole Hot 97 thing popped off, so Flex again made it cool to play hip-hop in the clubs, and it wasn't hidden no more, it was now part of the community, part of the fabric.